So, this is queer coded tropes. Queer coded. Where do they come from? So, trigger. Discussion on any of these topics, feel free to bail. 100%. I understand if you're not up for it,
Oh, wait,
considering the
one
way
second.
things are. Oh no.
And now you're back.
Okay.
The audio's
Using
being
good
I
found
don't
on
think
that
it's full living in
little
Discord.
Okay.
area.
I'll try to sit really still,
Okay.
Are
just
you
in case.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, trigger warnings. Politics. If you're not up for discussion of politics and you need to historical events having to do with the discussion of underrepresented, marginalized groups, racism, xenophobia, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, ableism, etc. Mention of unaliving, discussion of involuntary sterilization, in air quotes, medical procedures, nachos, and their treatment of marginalized groups and political enemies. It's all going to be mentioned. So if you're not up for any of that, you're welcome to bail at any time. I completely understand, considering the way things are right now. It hits a little close to home for a lot of us, I think. So, part of the reason that I put this presentation together was that I know, because I'm 43, right? I'm older. So when I was in school, there was a lot of stuff, especially like the darker stuff related to history, that we just didn't talk about, right? And I know because I used to be a teacher. I taught at I'm trying to think of the word. Trade school, thank you. That was run by a government contractor. So there was a lot of shit that I could talk about that you can't get away with as a teacher at a public school, right? And my students really, really enjoyed it. They really enjoyed talking about a lot of the stuff that they couldn't talk about when they were in public school. And they were like, why can't we talk about this stuff? It's really important. So
Let me do introductions because some of y'all don't have the memo.
yeah. I am the waifu.
So I am Peachy if other people don't have that memo. I am one of the con directors / founders, and this is my waifu.
Hello.
This is Rachelu and or waifu and or Tsunade. This is their first panel at CitrusCon. Please be nice to them or I'll kill you.
It'll be fine.
And I'm gonna let them start over a little bit so that this is less chaotic.
Sorry, the mic is choppy, guys.
Yeah, this is Peachy's Yandere waifu. Best wishes on your marriage. We've been married since 2021.
Yeah. But we've been together since what, 2016?
Something like that.
It's been a minute.
Congrats on losing your CitrusCon panel virginity.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I love a con where the con organizer threatens to murder you if you're unnice to their wife. Yes. You know that meme, or it was a TikTok thing where somebody shows up with like a broom, like they're gonna beat you up.
Oh no.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to my person is gonna show you this thing, and if you don't like it, I will fucking end you. And then they stand behind the person as they're showing the thing. That's me.
I figured you guys would like this because my students always seem to like this presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna let you restart and then re-explain Job Corps because
yeah, I used to work at a Job Corps, so
I will feed you chat. Let me
I won't get into the specifics of which one because reasons.
Can you hear me from over here? Am I loud enough? Okay, cool. We're good.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're fine now.
But yeah, being or going to a public school in the United States, I know there was a lot of shit that I found out later on, historical wise, that we just don't get taught about. And we ended up, because I was working at a trade school, right? And we didn't have the restrictions on things that we could talk about, or at least I didn't get held accountable, I guess, in the same ways that public school teachers did, because my students, yeah, yeah. I mean, but we didn't talk about anything bad. We just didn't have the same restrictions, right? So, like, for example, for Black History Month, we talked about, because you always hear teachers talk about Dr. King, right? And for good reason. Dr. King's fucking important. But we would have presentations on, like, Malcolm X and why Malcolm X was important. Public school teachers don't really talk much about Malcolm X, right? I had a presentation on the Panthers, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and why the Panthers were fucking important. I had a presentation on the racist, xenophobic, and bigoted history of policing in America. I had a presentation on the prison industrial complex and how it takes advantage of minorities, specifically the Black community, right? We would talk about stuff like that, and you could never get away with that in a public school, right? But anyway, I digress. But this is one of the presentations that I usually did during Pride Month, because I had a whole set of presentations that I did during Pride Month too for my students. So, of course, introductions. I'm Peachy's waifu. You call me whatever you want, Miss J, Tsunade, Peachy's waifu. I don't care. I'm not an academic. I don't have a history degree, but I do like history, especially the more problematic aspects of history. I think it's pretty cool. It's important to remember our history, right? I am a teacher. I'm also a socialist and a progressive. So I'm really fun, problematic in that way. I love history. I am a queer person. Peachy is my spouse. I love Peachy. They're so cute.
Oh, God.
And I get really mad about people's ignorance and cultural conventions that I think are stupid. And I want to know where that stupidity comes from. Wow, Karen, that's a really hot take you have there. I can't believe you actually believe that. Like, for real? Like, really? That's really what you believe? It's pretty fucked up, right? So, terminology, queer tropes. So, some examples of queer tropes would be like the gay best friend. Bury your gays. Has anybody ever heard of that before? The queer trope of bury your gays?
We have lots of yeses.
Awesome. Perfect. Unaliving of queer characters. So the gay character doesn't get to live, right? Seems like as soon as they come out as gay, especially in like the 80s and 90s in movies and TV shows, as soon as you came out as gay, that character died. The closeted jocks, U-Haul lesbians, rich aunts, right? Stuff like that. Camp is fun. Some examples of camp would be Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest, Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Has anybody ever seen any of those? I know Peachy knows about Mommy Dearest. Oh, yeah. That one hits home, right?
I have a few yeses.
RuPaul is camp. John Waters and Divine. Please tell me people know who John Waters and Divine are. That's important to me. Okay, the Boulet Brothers and Dragula. That's a good one. If you haven't seen the Boulet Brothers Dragula, you should check it out, especially if you like RuPaul. Dolly Parton, Liberace's camp. Lady Gaga, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Dr. Frank, right? The Golden Girls, it's all camp. Queer coding and queer baiting. So queer baiting is like, it's like implying that somebody is queer, but they're not really necessarily. Queer coding is giving a character traits that are typically attributed to queer people, right? So elegant speech, dramatic or exaggerated gestures, theatrical gestures, or makeup, campy mannerisms, sarcastic wit, ambiguous sexuality and gender nonconformity, all that kind of stuff, and queer-coded villains. So this one, we're specifically going to figure out where queer-coded villains come from, right? So, where do these stereotypes and tropes come from? Has this always been a thing? Why are there so many queer-coded villains specifically? And why do I always gravitate towards queer-coded characters and villains? Is there something wrong with me? Oh my god! So, have our cultural conventions and norms always just shat on queer folks? Because it sure does feel like that sometimes, right? So, if you are interested in representation of queer coded, or not necessarily queer coded, but queer people throughout history, right? If you want to go way back into time, go on YouTube and check out Not a Tame Lion. It's a documentary about John Boswell. John Boswell is the historian who specialized in medieval manuscripts. He was a linguist. I believe he was a medieval linguist. He knew multiple ancient and dead languages, could read them, and he would go to monasteries in Europe and look through all these ancient manuscripts, and he found multiple examples of gay saints throughout history. So he proved that not only were there gay people who existed back in the day, there were gay people throughout Christianity, and they were accepted within Christianity.
There are a few holy shits, and yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. So if you want to do some research on that, get your screen grab out and check this out. It's pretty cool.
Thank you, Hyso.
Another fun one, if you like to watch Strange Aeons, she does a really cool one on gay nuns. So that one's a lot of fun. Sister Benedetta Carlini is a fucking gremlin. She's nuts. Kazro does a really good one on cowboys. Early examples of queer-coded people in literature: Elizabeth Bathory, everybody knows about that. The countess who's supposed to have bathed in the blood of virgins, right? They say that it probably got exaggerated over time. She's an example of a queer woman. Carmilla, 1872. That's the female vampire that scared the shit out of everybody. So, female sexuality, oh shit, everybody run and hide, right? Predatory nature, unconventional desires. A picture of Dorian Gray. Everybody knows what happened to Oscar Wilde, right? How he was put in prison for gross indecency. Just going over some of this stuff because you guys know a lot about it, I'm sure, already. Castlevania! If you haven't watched Castlevania, where have you been? It's really important. So, yeah, we're going to sit here for a second because we need this. We need this in our lives. You're welcome. And of course, I saved the best for last. Yeah. Warlocks is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. He needs his own series. Okay, so the grossness has commenced. Eugenics. So we need to watch. Can you pull up a video for this?
Like what?
It's on YouTube. It's in TED Talks.
Are we gonna have enough time?
Probably not. It's okay. We'll skip it for now. There's a really good TED Talks video. It's only like 5 minutes long. I usually show it to my students over eugenics. It goes over like the history of it and like where it came from. So eugenics, first of all, 1883 to the 1970s. Okay, I was born in 1982. The last of the eugenics laws were finally taken off the books in the late 70s. That's not very long before I was born, right? So eugenics is a pseudoscience. What is a pseudoscience? What the hell is that? Does anybody know? What's a pseudoscience? Who knows? Anybody tell me?
Means it's actually not a science, fake science.
You got it!
Yeah.
Kind of like a pseudonym, right? A fake name, pseudonym. You guys nailed it. Awesome. So it's a fake science. So it's a scientifically inaccurate theory that humans can be improved through selective breeding of populations. So in theory, like if you take it at face value, that doesn't sound like a horrible idea. Maybe, right? Until you get into the nitty-gritty of what they were trying to do or what they actually believed at the time. So they thought that they could cure or get rid of societal ills through selective breeding of populations. So back in the day, they thought they could get rid of things such as alcoholism, albinism, epilepsy, mental illness, poverty, intelligence, that your physical ability, criminality, homosexuality, all kinds of things like that were inherited. So if you were gay, you got that from your parents. If you were a criminal or you broke the law in some way, that was something that you inherited from your parents. So, I mean, we know today that poverty is not something that is inherited. You can be born into a situation that is going to be hard for you to get out of, poverty wise, right? But poverty isn't genetic, it's a situational thing, right? If you're given access to resources, you can better your situation. It's not an inherited thing. So, implementation of eugenics practices caused widespread harm. So, some examples of things that were done to people related to eugenics: the Tuskegee experiment. What was that? And I always ask my students, not the Tuskegee Airmen, right? Because that's what they always want to tell me. Oh, the Tuskegee Airmen. No. What was the Tuskegee experiment? Anybody know?
They gave them syphilis.
That's right. Yes, exactly. So those, and it was black men, right? So they wanted to, doctors at the time, this is an example of medical racism, gave those black men syphilis on purpose because they wanted to study the effects of syphilis on black men. And then their wives end up getting syphilis, and they ended up having a cure for syphilis part of the way through this experiment, and they intentionally denied them access to that cure, right? They tested birth control in the early phases on minority women. The Florence Crittenden mother and baby homes. A lot of people know about the Magdalene laundries. You guys ever heard of the Magdalene laundries?
A few yeses, one no.
One no. So
A few no's.
A few no's. So we had our own version of the Magdalene laundries here in the U.S., which was the Florence Crittenden mother and baby homes. So the Magdalene laundries, the young girls who were problematic in some way, whether they were sexually promiscuous, or in some cases their families thought they were too pretty and they were attracting too much attention. Maybe their families were poor, and the nuns or whoever it was would come to their families and say, oh, well, if you send her to us, we can give her an education. These little girls would get sent off to these Magdalene laundries to get an education, in air quotes, and they'd be sent off to work in these laundries, and they'd be abused, and they'd actually be denied an education. And everybody knows Sinead O'Connor, right? Nothing Compares to You. She was sent off to a Magdalene laundry for, I think, 1.5 years when she was little. I think when she was like 14. Here in the United States, we had ugly laws. And it wasn't like just for being unattractive, right? It was, they were laws that said that if you were either disabled or homeless or couldn't work for some reason, that you could be arrested and put in jail for not being able to work, and you tried to panhandle. The American Indian boarding schools, those were here in the US and in Canada. They could forcibly sterilize you. Gay people and people with disabilities were sent to institutions, because here in the United States, being gay was considered to be a mental illness. Forced sterilization and lobotomization of people with disabilities and gay people. Because of eugenics, if you were either disabled or gay or different in some way, your family would see you as somebody to be ashamed of, and they either could or would send you away, just not have you around. That was better than having a member of the family who was different, because you made the rest of them look bad, so they would just get rid of you. Conversion therapy, a lot of us know about that as queer people, and torture to cure the gay. Another one is what are they called, where they send the teenagers off? The troubled teen industry.
Yeah.
That's an offshoot of this kind of stuff too. So, and then another thing too, a lot of people talk about what Hitler did to the Jewish people during World War II, right, in Nazi Germany. Hitler didn't just come up with that stuff himself. Did you know that Hitler got that from us, from the United States, the way that we treated people during the eugenics movement? That's where that came from. Hitler just took it and ran with it to its conclusion. And then eugenics as a justification for scientific racism ended up leading to the involuntary sterilization of over 60,000 people within the United States. So that's fun. I'll sit here for a second so you can read it if you want to. And there's the link down there for all this information if you think I'm full of shit and you want to look at it. Excuse me. But there's multiple video essays online for this stuff, and I'll have some recs for you guys here in a few minutes. So does eugenics ideology and scientific racism still exist in some form to this day? Yes, unfortunately. So while the eugenics movement especially flourished during the 3 decades before the end of World War II, eugenics practices such as involuntary sterilization, forced institutionalization, social ostracization, and stigma were common in many states until the 1970s, and in some instances have continued to persist in various forms. So some examples that still exist to this day are transphobia, right? Transphobia is still very much a thing. There are some states within the United States that have laws that say that you can be put in jail for being unhoused and for being on the streets. And I have some examples of states right now that have laws where you can be put in jail, incarcerated for being homeless. Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and that's of 2024. Cultural assumptions about people who are poor and about poverty versus wealth. So a lot of people assume that if you are poor, you have done something to deserve to be poor. You're poor because you're lazy. You're poor because you're a damn dopehead who lays up all the time and does drugs, and you're lazy and you refuse to get a job. Does any of that sound familiar? That's how people think around here where Peachy and I live. And if you're rich, oh, well, you're a good person. Well, if you're rich, well, you worked hard to get to that point, right? Well, if you're rich, well, you made good decisions and you're a good person and you deserve that. Yeah. Fucking bullshit. Ableist attitudes towards people with disabilities, especially mental health stuff, right? I can't tell you how many students I had tell me that they were afraid to go down and talk to our wellness staff about mental health stuff, about ADHD meds, because they had family members who told them that they didn't need it, that there was no reason for them to be on it. So conversion therapy in some states is still a thing, the troubled teen industry. And then we've got pronatalism, the people who want you to have as many babies as possible, right? Well, let me rephrase that. White babies, right? They want lots and lots of white babies. Okay, here's some documentaries if you're interested in docs and video essays. So these are both from PBS. Eugenics in the USA and Nazi-Town, USA. Those are both really good. Leisha Miller has one on eugenics that's really good. The Program, that's the one that we watched. Remember that? It's really good. Peachy and I really liked it. It talks about the troubled teen industry. And I think, didn't Paris Hilton go to one of those schools? Didn't you talk about that? So Paris Hilton got sent off to one of those troubled teen schools. So if your parents had enough money, especially in like the 90s and 2000s, and you weren't doing good in school because of like behavioral reasons, whatever that might have been due to, your parents could just send you off to one of these schools, these private air quote schools for troubled teens, and all kinds of awful things could happen to you. So there's some more. Here's one for conversion therapy. Pray Away, another one for conversion therapy. This one's really good. This one is about Stonewall. So what I really found interesting about this documentary is at the beginning of it, the queer people that they interview, the older queer folks, and we don't have a lot of our queer elders to talk to because we lost a lot of them, especially the queer men, right? Because of AIDS back in the day. So it's interesting to sit and listen to them talk about what it was like to be queer, to be especially gay men, like late 1960s, and the stuff that was done to them by especially their own families and by society in general. They talk about places that gay men were sent by their own families and how their own families abandoned them, how little kids were treated and institutionalized, and it's really interesting how people were actually treated back in the day. Okay, peachy smoke break. Woo! Some heavy stuff. Deep breath, guys. Deep breath. Anybody got any questions? Everybody doing okay? Everybody's been pretty quiet so far.
No, the chat is going.
So if anybody says anything, chime in and tell me.
I am just letting you do.
Because I'm just rattling. I don't. If anybody's got anything to say, tell me.
We have a few people going, I know a lot of this, but something about like this panel in particular is this is something that she would do at schools with a lot of kids, especially in America, that were never taught any of this.
Yeah.
So it's in America. It depends. You have to be like someone who wants to like seek it out, because especially in like our region of America, it's not taught.
No, they don't teach you this stuff in school. No. Oh no. No, this is all very problematic. We don't get taught this in school. Okay, so here's another really interesting and important one. So this is the Hays Code. So this happened in American film and TV from the 1930s all the way up to 1968. So these would be examples of movies that happened or that were made before the Hays Code, right? So you've got girls kissing, you got guys kissing, you got naked people, you got legs, you got James Cagney down there from Public Enemy getting arrested, being cool. So the Hays Code was interesting because it was a set of rules that they imposed upon themselves. The motion picture industry did, right? And they did it to keep the government from doing it to them. So ensured that films met certain moral standards and avoided content deemed offensive and inappropriate. And of course, it was pushed upon them by the Catholic Church, because of course it fucking was. So specifically, it forbade nudity, suggestive dance, homosexuality or homosexual acts, illegal drug use, talk of venereal disease, images of childbirth, even in silhouette. You couldn't show childbirth in silhouette. Interracial relationships, no depictions of white slavery, offensive words, phrases, and profanity, any portrayal of criminal activity that might inspire imitation. So you can't show any like Robin Hood type characters. The bad guy can't be actually like the good guy or someone that you would want to empathize with. Also restricts depictions of violence, especially when it appeared to glorify or provide details about criminal acts. Furthermore, the code upheld the sanctity of marriage and the home. No depictions of clergy, religion, or law enforcement as the bad guy. The cops and the clergy always had to be the good guy, and you always had to show religion in a good light. So here's an actual little snippet of the code and some of the rules. August 11th, 1934. Wild stuff, man. Yep. So this is breaking all of the Hays Code at once. I thought this was pretty cool. So films in compliance with the Hays Code. I had some I guess you would call it conflicting information as far as like the double bed thing, because I always thought that was in compliance with the Hays Code, but I also read some stuff that at the time it was also in fashion to have two twin beds in your bedroom, which I thought was really weird. So it's kind of a double whammy on that one, I think. So they did find, and this is where a lot of our queer coding starts to come in, right? So filmmakers found creative ways to navigate the Hays Code. So directors and writers cleverly used symbolism, innuendo, and dialogue to hint at forbidden themes. Sometimes, or some films, even utilize the code's restrictions as a challenge, pushing boundaries and demonstrating the limits of censorship. So you're queer coding, right? So while it can be a way to include queer narratives, it also carries a risk of perpetuating negative stereotypes, especially when applied to villains. So in the beginning, with a lot of this stuff, the queer characters or the queer coding or the queer representation was a joke, right? So I remember seeing a lot of these cartoons when I was little. And Lambert, the sheepish lion, Lambert's a sweetheart, and Ferdinand the bull. I love Ferdinand. And then what is that? It's got Marilyn Monroe in it. Some Like It Hot, I think is that one. Where they both dress in drag. And then you start getting into your queer-coded villains. So your queer-coded villains often exhibit traits, mannerisms, or behaviors associated with LGBTQ people as perceived by the dominant culture, particularly when those traits are presented negatively or used to signify evil. And don't forget, at this point, being gay or being queer was considered a mental illness. And then there's some information on the DSM classification, right? 1973, homosexuality was finally removed from the DSM, right? But again, I was born in 82, so that's not too long before I was born. So from the 1950s onward, queer representation in film and TV evolved from queer people being seen as a joke to queer people's existence being something to be disgusted or be fearful of. 1950s and 60s saw the advent of the queer psychopath or murderer. So giving a character traits coded as gay or queer gave audiences of the past a reason to be unnerved, unsettled, or distrustful of those characters. It made villains more hateable. So now you have the advent of the sissy villain, the sycophantic servant, the flaming devil, the creepy crossdresser, the evil eunuch, the psycho lesbian. Queer people are funny or comic relief, etc. So here's some of your queer psychopaths and murderers. Murderers. So some of these guys are really problematic. Actually, most of them are. Actually, all of them are, except for Dr. Frank. Dr. Frank's perfect. Anybody know any of these? Come on. Other than Dr. Frank. Dr. Frank is easy.
Hell yeah, Norman Bates.
Yeah.
Rebecca mentioned.
Yeah, Rebecca, yeah.
Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
A lot of people love Rope.
Rope is a tough one. Rope got a lot of pushback. Like when it was being made. Yep. Maltese Falcon.
We're at 20 minutes, so if you want
Okay.
Q&A.
So here's a couple of really good docs by Matt Baum. One's on Rope and the other one is on cruising. And then here's your bury your gays or dead lesbian syndrome, right? Could be no positive representation of queer people. All queer people live sad, miserable, unfulfilling lives. Queer people aren't even capable of love, and if you're gay, you'll never be in a lasting relationship. To act on your homosexual urges is to bring ruin and death upon yourself. Because we can't risk people thinking that we're endorsing an alternative lifestyle. No, sir, damn queers. So yeah, that's when you actually did start to see gay people represented in movies, right?
Someone says Brokeback Mountain needs to be in there.
You know, yeah. That's another one, isn't it? You're right, I need to put that in there. Okay, queer tropes, queer-coded character examples. So now we're going to get into our examples. Everybody knows that Ursula is based off of Divine, right? So we've got our sissies, we've got our sycophantic servants, right? These are all Disney. We got our flaming devils, our psycho lesbians. Skeletor. And we're going to get into anime. Sycophantic servant, poor Jockin.
Someone loves DeLandau.
Somebody knows DeLandau? Oh! You need to hang out with me and Peachy. We both love DeLandau. DeLandau is baby. A little fucked up, perfect baby. Little piece of shit. Here's some more. Radigan. Everybody forgets Radigan. And the Major.
People are wondering why you put Miss Frizzle.
Miss Frizzle is a lesbian icon. Are you kidding? I had a friend who had the biggest crush growing up on the chick who's in that kid show where she sits on that giant chair and she's got the red clown nose.
The big humpy couch.
Yeah! Had the biggest fucking crush on her growing up. Thought she was just the hottest shit ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Major's my OG waifu. Here's some more. I just realized that in that He-Man picture, Dude Bro's shirt looks like a dick coming up. That's hilarious. Haku, angel baby. Yeah. Some more. Baloo and Bagheera, OG best dads. Herbie. Poor Herbie.
15 minutes.
Okay, here's a couple more documentaries. These are both really good by Therese. I just found her recently, probably within the last 6 months. I really like her videos. A lot of her stuff's really good. Here's a couple more good ones. Jessica L. Kelgren Fozard. I really like her stuff. She does a lot of really good stuff related to like people with a disabilities perspective. The Celluloid Closet. I have that. I think it's on Amazon. If you guys want to set up a screening with Peachy, it's really good. And it talks about the Hays Code. Kazro has a lot of really good stuff. They've got one on the Hays Code. Weimar, Germany. If anybody's interested in Weimar Germany, so like Germany pre-World War II, Kazro's video essay on that is really good. I don't feel like we hear nearly enough or get nearly enough Black queer representation within LGBTQ spaces. I love talking about the Harlem Renaissance, specifically the gay Harlem Renaissance. Gladys Bentley is fucking amazing, and I love them. Here's a couple more. There's one specifically on Gladys Bentley. 1946. That one's interesting. 1946 is a documentary that talks about when the word homosexual first appeared in the Bible. Was in a Bible translation in 1946. So that one's interesting. Red and Lavender Scare. That one, 1940s and 1960s, that's when they laid off or they fired all those government employees for being suspected of being gay. They didn't even have to prove that you were gay. And if you refused to just leave, they would threaten to out you as being gay to your family and just completely fucking ruin your life. So that was a real thing. There's documentaries on that. J. Edgar Hoover. Fuck J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover is one of the biggest, most awful, giant pieces of shit that ever existed. Bailey Sarian does a good video essay on J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover is part of the reason that people back in the day saw gay men as pedophiles and predators. He did a opinion article back in the day, and I'm trying to remember the name of that article. It was what was the name of it? I tried to find that article and I couldn't find it. But he wrote an opinion article that people took as fact, and it talked about gay men being, in his opinion, predators. And the shitty thing is, J. Edgar Hoover was a closeted gay man. It's the shittiest thing of all. Oh, there it is. War on the Sex Criminal, 1937. So I did find it. Opinion article written by Hoover. Anyone who spoke out in favor of equality for homosexuals, Hoover thought should be a criminal of the state. Gay people were criminals and should be imprisoned. Sexual psychopath laws he was a proponent of allowed courts to imprison whomever they identified as sexual psychopaths. Families started turning in their gay children, dropping them off at mental institutions to live out the rest of their lives. In asylums, homosexual patients were subjected to isolation, electrocution, lobotomies, and other forms of torture. Yep. Also go and check out essays on COINTELPRO. J. Edgar Hoover also went after civil rights activists, including Dr. King, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and the anti-Vietnam War protesters. Yeah. If you're into that stuff, go check out COINTELPRO. Here's pictures of J. Edgar Hoover with his boyfriend, Clyde Tolson. And when J. Edgar Hoover died, when they folded up the flag, they gave it to Tolson. Yeah. Yep. So here's some facts about things related to him and Tolson's relationship. So yeah, come on, sis. So there's a special place in hell for J. Edgar Hoover. So here's a little timeline real quick of how it all works out. So you got eugenics, J. Edgar Hoover, how it all kind of lines up. But why does any of this matter? Who cares? What's the point? None of this matters anyway, right? It's all in the past. History is boring, Miss J. Oh my God. Ugh, why do you make us go through this? Nobody cares. No, it isn't. History is important. Now sit down. Right? The past teaches us about the present. Why are so many of my favorite characters in books, TVs, and anime villains? Am I broken? I'm definitely broken, right? No, you're not broken. Trust me. It's okay. Head pats, right? Tons of villain characters that are queer-coded. So they were made less likable, or made it to be less likable for audiences, right? To be made more creepy, more hateable for audiences of the past, which makes them more relatable to a lot of queer people today. Because they're relatable to us, because they're like us. Maybe the characters that we love have trauma that we can relate to. Maybe it's nice to watch them work through their trauma in ways that we wish we could. Or maybe the characters that we love are what we wish we could be. They inspire us. As queer people, in a world that sometimes, more so recently, hates us and doesn't see us as people that deserve respect, basic human decency, or rights to exist, maybe it's nice to just, know we're not alone, right? So it's nice to know that somebody has my back. And don't let anyone tell you that what you like is garbage, or that you're a bad person for liking it. They don't know you. They don't know your personal experiences. You're allowed to like the things that you like, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for that. Majority of people understand that correlation does not equal causation. Just because two variables happen at the same time does not mean that one causes the other. So, what I mean is, just because I happen to like a character that exhibits problematic behaviors does not mean that I advocate for or am okay with people doing the same or similar things in real life. I am a human who understands the difference in fiction and reality. And if you'd like to discuss hate within fandoms and liking characters that other people see as problematic, Peachy has a panel presentation on that topic specifically. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk and for listening to me ramble about queer history. And remember, Miss J thinks you're cool. So you guys have a good one.
Do we have a Q&A or anything that you want to ask waifu?
That was really fast and a lot.
I think we need to make this panel an hour and a half. Who is your favorite problematic villain?
My favorite? Oh gosh, I can't pick a favorite. I like a lot of them.
Someone asked, how do I be cool like you?
Oh, I don't recommend it. I make a lot of people mad, so I don't recommend it.
Thank you for all the documentaries and reading material. I need to get your slides, and we made a discussion thread so that people could talk. They wanted one.
Yeah.
And I need to get your slides and put them in the discussion thread. So I'm going to do that after.
There's a couple other little documentary things that I need to add too, because I found some that I wanted to add on ugly laws too. And I know I have one somewhere on the American Indian boarding schools that I wanted to add. And I found my TED Talk one the other day too. So that it goes over eugenics real quick, and it's only like 5 minutes. Oh, and what's the lady who started Planned Parenthood?
Oh Lord.
Singer. What's her name? Oh, what is her name? Oh, I can't think of her name. Anyway, she ended up being one of the founding eugenics members because she was pushing for women to have access to birth control, and nobody was in favor of it until she decided to spin it from a eugenics standpoint, and then they were all in favor of it, which is some bullshit. But yeah. Oh, singer, what is her name? I can see her in my head, but I cannot think of her name.
Someone wanted to know if you knew about Comic Code Authority.
Yes! The 10-cent panic? Because they thought Batman and Robin were gay? And that they come up with Batman's girlfriend? They come up with Batwoman because of that? Wasn't that all part of that?
Someone goes, because Batman and Robin are gay.
Yeah. Duh. Come on, Comic Code Authority. Give it the program.
And for people wanting the references and stuff like that, I'm going to post the slides after the panel is done.
Okay.
So you can look at that. Where can you find the other panel?
The other panel?
Mine. I'm contemplating doing it on Twitch because I have some time between now and when I do my next one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it this year. If you want to see that, I could do it in COBL in my server. Someone says, please do more panels, Miss J. This rules.
I'd like for us to do these one right after the other. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. You had over 100 people.
Yay!
I didn't want to tell you as it was growing because I didn't want you to freak out.
I do better. Well, I do better when I can like sit in a room full of people and we can just like fucking talk. Like sit up like next to me. Like we can sit in like a big circle and just talk. I like to do that. That's what I prefer to do. And then you guys can just like chime in and tell me shit as we go. Be like, oh, what about, yeah. You know, oh, yeah. Because that's what I always used to do with my students. And then they'd come up with ideas for different stuff and we would go on tangents and we'd spend months, because I would do like a presentation every Friday on something that they wanted to talk about, and we would just go off on tangents of presentations for months of different things that they wanted to talk about.
Someone asked, do you have a list of pre-code movies that you could watch?
Pre-code movies? Anything with oh, what's the actress who's in Queen Christina? Oh, what is her name? She's gorgeous. The Garbo?
Maybe.
She's in Queen Christina. What is her name? Anything with her. Public Enemy with James Cagney is cool. That one with those soldiers. If you go, okay. Let me go back and find it. Doop, 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 doop. Right there. So up here in the top corner where the women are kissing, I think that's from Queen Christina. Top corner, and then the opposing corner, that's the same actress. I think it's Garbo.
Someone says Marlene Dietrich.
Marlena Dietrich, is that who it is?
No, so High Soap thinks it's Garbo.
I think it's Garbo too. But she was always really androgynous.
We have any other questions? We have 2 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for letting Waifu hyperfixate.
Yay! If you get a chance, if you're into pre-code stuff or anything about the code, watch the Celluloid Closet too. Like I said, I've got it because you have to pay for it. You can't just unfortunately go watch it somewhere unless you pirate it. I've got it on Amazon. I'm 90% sure. If you want to work something out with Peachy and Peachy do a screening for you guys, I'm completely down for that. Because I bought it. Because I bought it for my students to watch. If you guys want to watch it.
Someone thinks it's on Tubi.
Is it on Tubi? It might be. I know I've got it too. So if you guys want to work something out. But it's really good. It's older, like I said, it's from the 95. But a lot of actors talk in it about stuff that they've experienced. And it's got a lot of like footage from old movies and things like that. And it's got pre-code stuff in it. It's pretty cool.
We are at time. Everyone is saying good presentation. They all loved it. Someone said that you were a cool person.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to hang out, guys. I'm glad you weren't bored. This is stuff that I think is cool because it's like, where does this shit come from, right? Where did stuff doesn't just come from nowhere, right? It comes from somewhere. It's like, why do people think this shit? Where does it come from? So I go down these weird rabbit holes of like, you know, where, why, you know? So, but yeah, I'm glad you thought it was fun. Thanks for coming to hang out.